ALTBAYS. ALTBAYS.
I really like it. It's so catchy.
Do you?
I really do. Sorry.
It is.
To come
That's
straight out
good.
like that.
That's good. I like it too.
It's really catchy.
It's a good song, isn't it?
Very catchy.
Oh, thank you. That's nice. We're live, as you can see. ALTBAYS Show, brought to you by ALTBAYS.nz. We run these beautiful shows here in the ALTBAYS studios in Whitianga. So if you want to run your own podcast, or if you want to, I don't know, maybe run some like live meetings with your team or some webinars, this space is available for you. Get in touch with us. Go to our website, ALTBAYS.nz, and let us know what you're up to. Okay? The best way to support this platform is to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Okay? We are also a podcast show, so you can listen to our shows. Maybe you are listening to it right now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, Stitcher, so many platforms. We're in all of them. So you watch this show live, and then the next day you can go and share with your friends the audio versions of this. Yeah, thank you very much. Cool. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like the video. If you don't like, dislike it. Why not? Be honest. This is an alternative media.
Oh.
Yeah, well, you know, gotta be honest nowadays. We work with children and we learn a lot about honesty with them. That's for sure. So we get a lot of feedback from the community. Some people like the show. Some people think that some topics are controversial. And guess what? That's the format. That's exactly what we're doing. You might not like everything, but hey, you're actively listening, which doesn't happen that often, right? So you're welcome to join our live chat and tell us what you think. If you want to send a question to the person who is here with us, if you would like to suggest someone to come to the show, yeah, we're open for all these things. This is a platform made for the community. And when you subscribe, you support us, you make us grow, so we can bring more and more exciting people to talk to us in the beautiful Whitianga. Isn't it great?
I think it's great.
How are you, Chloe?
I'm very well. I'm loading up on vegan candy,
Yo!
vegan gummies. Yep. Shout out to Natural Confectionery. Oh, just New World in general, I think.
There
Just
you
lots of
go.
candy. Yeah. No, I'm very good. How are you?
I'm good. How's the Friday going?
Really cold, I would say. Actually, it's real cold outside. Like, it's freezing. I got a really big shock because we just had been pumping the heat pump, and so it's a bit of a yeah. So it's good but cold.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah.
How was work today?
Long
Long.
on a Friday.
Do you work on weekends?
Yes.
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 Yes. Someone has to, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's often me.
Wow.
Yeah, sad dear.
We work on weekends too, so it's
Yeah,
fine.
cool.
It's all good. Hey,
Yes.
if you want to know what's happening in the Coromandel, there's this beautiful website
Yeah, I think I
called
know of it.
All About Whitianga. And it's not only all about Whitianga. It's all about like the Coromandel. From what I got, we can see a lot of information from what's happening around here. And tonight, we have the pleasure to talk to Cathy.
Drum roll.
Klowens.
Thanks, guys.
Hello.
Awesome to be here.
Thank you so much for
Fabulous
coming.
people, fabulous studio, loving what you're doing.
Oh, bless. Thanks.
Thank you, Cathy. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I've had a busy week.
Yeah?
It's been great. Lots of talking with business people, community members, and rounding the week up with sort of jobs, end of year financials. So less exciting, but important.
It's part of the business, right?
Absolutely.
Gotta get it done.
Yeah.
How big is your team at the moment?
We have what we call a small but perfectly formed team.
I like
Ooh,
that.
So,
that's nice.
yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So we have myself, I'm full time. We have my lovely colleague Kat, who is 4 days a week, and my husband Dean, who is in and out of the office. He also has another business, and he works from home. We haven't managed to get him back into the office since COVID.
Yeah.
I think because when he comes into the office, he gets a job. So he's
Smart, so he's
trying to
smart.
avoiding us ladies. But anyway, we're a busy team, a super busy team.
Is his business the fuel Is that the what's the name that does the
Yeah,
web?
he has
Is that right?
Creative Fuel Design.
Creative Fuel
So he does websites and designs, and he is the mastermind of All About Whitianga website.
Fantastic.
So he built
Cool.
it and designed that.
Nice. So let me just get this right. So Cathy is the business developer and advertisement manager of the All About Whitianga. It's a solid Coromandel online platform for visitor information, accommodation, things to do, activities, local products and services, shopping, business and community group information, family fun, and much more.
Fuel. Yes. Perfect.
I know, right?
Yeah. It's,
I'm practicing. I'm practicing.
Yeah, well done. Well, look, essentially All About Whitianga is a one-stop shop or hub. So viewers can connect with information about Whitianga, the Mercury Bay, so all of our fabulous communities that make up the Mercury Bay in and around Whitianga, and get a bit of the Coromandel vibe as well on the website. So that's what viewers come to the site to do. And on the flip side of that, we have community groups, our local businesses, and we have maybe event coordinators and other folks that use the platform to raise their brand awareness, so online, and hook into our engaged audience. We've been around for a while now, and we've
How
got
long?
a big audience.
How long have you been?
We started in 2013 in October, so 8.5 years.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And
Okay.
we're pretty excited. We're up to 2.3 million views over that now, over time.
Wow.
And
Cool.
over the last year, it sort of grows year upon year, and it has been. And understandably, people are online a lot more now too. We've certainly seen that in the stats, but we're up to about 368,000 views over the last year.
Wow.
So
Fantastic.
it shows people they're wanting information about Whitianga and our beautiful area. So yeah, it's a great place or a great site to be involved with. It's a real pleasure. It's a passion of mine.
Oh,
So,
cool. You can tell, I would have said someone before tonight put so much effort into it, because I actually find myself using it quite often. If I'm
Thank you.
I'm
Awesome.
genuinely like for business, if I'm trying to find like a local business's number, like for example a tradie or something, and I see often that there's like job opportunities, if I'm recommending to someone, and like event stuff, and I know you guys like run like pretty cool competitions. I actually just entered in your this month's one.
excellent.
Yeah, so I'm
It's a great one.
hoping my name will get picked out now.
It's
Don't
a
jinx
random
it.
number
Don't jinx
generator,
it.
just to be clear.
Until I'm the winner next week or something, and it's like, yeah.
Do you know what's really cool is that we partner with a lot of local businesses all the time really, to run those competitions. So they very kindly work with us to provide whatever's going to be won. We'll promote it out there, and then a lucky local person gets to, or not always local, it might be a batch owner or people who know they're coming into town, so
Yeah.
they're entering as well, very much so. And
That's awesome.
I guess what you're saying, Chloe, as well, it's a busy site, and it's growing. It's a beast, and it takes a lot to feed. It's just grown and grown over time.
So when you started, what were the main points in the website? Was it the services, or like how did it start, and how did you embrace so many things into it?
Well, it's morphed with some new things that we've brought in, particularly over COVID. We took that opportunity to introduce a whole lot of new things. But initially, we kind of had all the very similar categories, but we've nuanced them, I guess, over time. So we've got our local visitor category, our local services category. So that's the area of the site that is very much profiling our businesses. And we've always got our community area. So we work, for instance, with over 200 businesses on the site.
Wow.
And that sort of fluctuates back and forwards sort of over time. So that's always been a big part of the site, so that if viewers want to come and have a look and find information about a business or a trade or a service, they're trying to find one, see when a business is open, download a menu, or just generally find information about a business, they can do that. And our community side of things, we have want to connect with the community and get involved so that you kind of might settle in a bit more, then that's where you can find information about sort of community groups. And for the community groups, they get more members potentially, people joining groups, fundraisers. This week we had someone inquiring they wanted to donate to a community group, which was great.
Oh, wow.
So there's all that sort of stuff happening. So very much those parts of it were always integral, and then the explore area, the get-go, and then we've just increased them and added to them, and kind of added a few new things. During that COVID time when things were all a little bit crazy, but we took the opportunity to go into second, third, fourth, fifth gear, and we added our job section in the last year to the website.
Cool.
We added our Mercury Bay News area to the website, and with our Explore area, we're just growing a little bit more, hopefully when that international audience comes back in a bit more.
And there's so much work available in Whitianga at the moment. Is that right?
Oh, look, I think there's no secret that nationally across and in Whitianga that people need people in jobs and with different businesses. So we came up, we're just celebrating the year of having the job section on the site.
Oh, cool.
We added it to the site because we could see that need.
Yep.
And we've had 70,000 views to it.
Wow.
And we have got an awesome lot of jobs on there. So there's local people looking at jobs, just getting feedback from our businesses that have advertised with us. And also we're getting peeks in from people wanting to move into town. They're seeing our community and going, hey, I want a part of this. And they can see, might go to the job section, but because it's hosted on All About Whitianga, they then have a little look
Access to the
around.
rest, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely been something specifically for the job opportunities when people are like, oh, dude, like, I might come up to Whitianga for the summer, or like, hey, do you recommend a job? And my boyfriend might come up, blah, blah, blah. I'm always like, oh, dude, All About Whitianga, the job section is like,
It's
the
humming.
best way. It's the best way to look, and it's just sort of, you have, or it's the layout as well, just like it's so user friendly, like your website. I really just genuinely personally really like your website.
Oh,
it's
thank
really,
you.
It's really
Thank
nice because I just use it so
Thank you.
often. It's really
Awesome.
cool.
I really appreciate it. Well, something else that we've kind of built and we had to change a bit, particularly for what Google required, is our whole event section, which is super popular. During COVID, as we all know, sadly, a whole lot of events were postponed or cancelled. And some went online, and many were just didn't resurrect and come back again, sadly. So our event section now is really humming, and it's exciting to see with the relaxing of some of our COVID requirements now that they're coming back. And I think you had Casper on. I know you had Casper on the show. Molly and Casper from the Monkey House.
Shout out to Molly and Casper.
They are fabulous. And to all the event organisers who have just hung in there during these COVID times. It's so exciting. People are really desperate to go to events. Well, I wouldn't say desperate, but we're seeing it on the website.
Keen. Super keen.
We're seeing the views. People are
Mm.
viewing it. And it's just a really neat part of the site. So we had to change really what was required or what we were doing, really how we promoted our events previously. So Google needed certain things to put in the back end of the website, which is above my pay grade. I don't do those elements of it. But now we can say if an event is postponed, if it's cancelled, if it's gone online, all these sorts of things that we didn't really have in place prior to COVID.
It was a hard time, for everybody, and for navigating for online platforms. It was such a moment to be updating information and making sure that everybody knew what was happening, what was available, and what was not.
So true. I mean, we went into overdrive. We were just when we went into lockdown in 2020, our whole team, we were working in different spots, but we were working like nothing because it looked like everybody was open on the website. And even though we're in lockdown, we wanted to reflect what was actually happening, and we really wanted to be there, particularly for our business customers and our community groups, so that people, even if their shop fronts weren't open or they couldn't get to their customer in person, that we actually put a very special system in the background that my husband Dean put into place. He does all the techie side of things for All About Whitianga and is the genius in that element. So we had tags that we could apply, and we contacted every one of our customers by phone and email, depending how I could get hold of them, to say, how are you operating? Are you an essential service? Will you take phone calls? Do you have menus? So we found when we came out of lockdown in May, actually, we had a 60% increase of views to the site to our takeaways and eating out areas.
Yeah, level 3.
So we had everybody tagged who was doing what. And so it's been an interesting journey in that regard. And luckily that is sitting in the back end and hopefully will never have to be used again, cross fingers. So, total shout out to the conversations that I've had with, and I have the privilege of doing that with our business owners and community group members for their resilience over these last few years. So we're looking forward now. And another thing that we've kind of put in place, I guess, which is relatively more recently, so our jobs is the most recent section, but we've been enhancing, is our Mercury Bay news area.
Yeah, I noticed that front page. You get all the news, and that's cool. We've
just got some nice stories from community members, business owners who've got shared tips and tricks and their specialties. Had the pleasure of interviewing Hannah Key, who is coming to the Monkey House.
Madeleines?
The Madelines.
Madelines.
Yes, I was saying the Madelines is Madelines. And it was such a pleasure. So we have interviews like that and little articles in the Mercury Bay News. The interview with Hannah was really interesting because she has a fabulous connection with Whitianga. She actually learnt to dance at the Monkey House Theatre when she was 4.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
So she's now in her late 20s, I think I've got that right. And she is coming back with her fabulous vintage trio group.
Fantastic.
With some jazz swing and bringing it back to Whitianga. So, cool. And she's been on the stages, international stages and musicals, so she's got a wealth of talent. So it's neat to see, Mercury Bay kid coming back.
Yes.
2 things. One, as you said that, I just had like a massive revelation. I went to dance classes at the Monkey House Theatre back in the day as well. I did like hip hop and jazz at the Monkey House Theatre. I totally forgot about that.
Really?
So you just unraveled that memory.
Oh.
And on the second thing, it's really cool how there's so much more sort of like artsy-fartsy kind of sort of things are coming back, like in a really nice way. It's really cool that there's so many like music events, dance events, like comedy, theatre even, it's really exciting.
Yeah. We deserve it, eh? Like the Coromandel deserves more, the arts, the music, it's such a special place for it. And we know, like, I'm not saying that like the things that were already happening are not relevant. We have the Mercury Bay Artscape, and we have the venues who bring live music. But something that we're trying to do as well with our platforms is to support artists to include the Coromandel when they're touring, because it's such a common thing for them to do Auckland, Hamilton, Tauranga, and skip this side of the Coromandel. It's just a matter of proving that there's an audience, like there's if it covers the cost for them to come, the show will help. That's what we're thinking here. If they can come, have a chat on the podcast, an interview with All About Whitianga, an article for the Seagull magazine, the Informer. Like we have solid media platforms, CFM. So like if we can provide that and explain, hey, come, have a chat. So you will sell tickets here.
Oh, definitely. Audiences, people are wanting to get out and about. Not everybody, but there's definitely people wanting to get out to events. And what we'll see hopefully coming up over later sort of throughout the year as the borders are kind of relaxing and people are getting out a bit more, and it's the larger events starting to sort of be resurrected again. Because it has been, as we've sort of said, it's been difficult in that event sort of space. So I think the next bigger kind of event that's happening will be the Whitianga half, or the marathon, I should say,
Oh, yeah.
in October.
Yeah, it got postponed, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So that will be something that will bring an awful lot of people into town. So our smaller events are, you know, you've definitely got an audience in town and people who maybe have batches that'll come for the weekend and maybe bring friends. And then for those bigger events, we're getting those huger numbers of people that may not have come to Whitianga before at all, and then being exposed to what the lifestyle offers, or just visiting and spending their money, and you know, that just really helps our town.
Yes.
Do you think it's like the post-COVID thing where people like going to events and wanting to go out and about? Do you think it's just because they like probably didn't value like small outings as much as they did before? Like, I know it's a massive thing to be like, oh my God, Ed Sheeran's coming, like, and you plan this event months ahead, but like to pop down to your local theatre to go watch some Kiwi comedy, like it's like an odd thought for a lot of my friends. They're like, oh, I never thought about that, like on a Thursday night or so. I'm like, yeah, like it's cool, dude. Like it's there too. Like why would you not? Like it's such a cool thing. You're supporting, and it's an outing, you know. Like
I think it's something also in our community is that you'll go to an event and you'll see faces that you know, others who are attending. So it's kind of like, not always, but like going out with a big group of friends or, you know, you wave across hi, and it's a fairly relaxed sort of, usually the venues are relaxed.
Yeah.
I know that we've, via All About Whitianga, the team have sponsored the Taste of Matarangi event, which sadly has been postponed and cancelled for a few years. So we're hoping that will come back. And that is just a lovely event that people in the Matarangi community, a lot of people from Auckland have batches there that they put it in their diary. They go in there.
Yeah.
And then people
that
from
travel for
Whitianga,
that.
travel to it. So I think there's that smaller town sort of feel to it as well, but absolute quality events.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're not missing out on the quality. It's actually
That's
even
right.
better because
Yes.
it's sometimes a smaller crowd, and so it's fun.
Kathy, were you born in New Zealand?
Yes, definitely. I am a Coromandel kid. I was born in Thames Hospital.
Oh, I mean, yay, Tim.
I grew up in Thames.
Kidding.
I haven't gone back to settle there.
Which school did you go to?
I went to the Thames High School.
Thames High School.
Yeah. And I've been in Whitianga for 11 years, so I'm not quite a local, but I always fall back on that Thames connection to say, hey, but I'm from the Coromandel.
Yeah.
Were you always into the marketing, managing things, events, getting people together? How was the trajectory?
Wow, I've been involved
go.
in lots of
Here we
different
go.
things.
Okay, take us through. That's good.
Well, I've learned a lot since working with All About Whitianga, and there's always a lot to learn in the digital space and technology moving. So prior to being involved in All About Whitianga, I did a degree at down in Wellington in the arts, history and political science, which was my interest, and then I did a diploma down at Lincoln. So I went from Wellington to Lincoln University in Christchurch. So was the gumboot rack at the library, and I did a parks, recreation and tourism management course, which is a bit of a
Have you watched
Wow,
the TV series Parks and Recreation?
no, I haven't.
Oh, you should.
It's well worth it, yeah.
Okay,
Crack up.
okay,
great.
I shall watch that.
Yeah. You might connect. You might relate to something.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Sorry. Were you? Yeah, you carry on.
Oh yeah, so that just led me really to I love history. I was liking that kind of the parks thing to certainly a point, because I obviously did that. And I ended up at Cornwall Park, which is in Auckland.
Yeah.
And I managed the visitor centre there. So
Cool.
people sort of front facing, and that was great. And did tours and just managed a historic home. So it was the visitor centre had been revamped. It used to be the old, not gatekeepers, but the I guess it was actually kind of the gatekeepers cottage, but a very beautiful cottage. And then that led me to save some money so I could go overseas, and I did an overseas experience, and then came back to New Zealand and ended up working for Historic Places Trust as a curator.
Oh.
And I worked in historic homes again. And then made my way into council for many years at Auckland Regional Council. So that's where the environment came in, and working with community groups and in community development and funding. So kind of all of
A
that
lot, yeah.
came together.
Did you take notes of everything? Because we're going to go back to all of them.
Yeah, I was also going to, I just wanted a bit of clarification. What's a historic curator?
So a curator is a person that will look after a collection or a place, or the collection in the place.
Okay.
So I worked at Alberton in Mount Albert in Auckland, which is a historic property where there were 3 sisters that ended up, the last ones living in the property, and then they passed it on to Historic Places Trust. So it's an incredible property if you ever get the chance to visit it, because it has all the original family collection in it.
Oh.
So it has all the dishes, the plates, the original wallpaper, the porcelain, slightly creepy little dolls in the upstairs, and has the servants' quarters. So a curator kind of helps to look after and manage a property or a place or a collection.
What makes a place to get the title of like a historical place? Is it like the time, or like not alterations in the building? Like, does it go through a process, or it depends on each case as a case?
It can depend on each case, but very much it's often older buildings, and then they can have different kind of grades of historic properties, and I can't remember all of them, and then that may mean that you can do a certain type of thing to them or not if you need to restore or develop them or whatever. Usually development wouldn't be for higher grade properties allowed, really. And then so Historic Places caretakes those properties. Also, we used to live in a villa in Auckland, so it was in the heritage zone. So when we went to put a skylight into the middle of the villa to let some more light into it, we had to go through quite a process.
Right.
So we weren't stopped from renovating and doing things, but it had certain restrictions.
Do you remember some places that you went to that you were like, oh, cool, is that what happened here? Like because of names, people who lived there, or just because of the time and with some historical relevance to New Zealand history, or even like when you went overseas that you were like, wow, cool, look where I am right now. This is
the wow cool for me, I must say, was overseas, which was many years ago. So I haven't been overseas for a long time. We were going to be going overseas, but COVID struck. So that's going to be waiting for a bit longer yet. Yeah. But it was in my 20s, so I was about 26, and I did my overseas experience and had a 2-year working visa. And I ended up caring for people in their homes mainly as one of my jobs when I first started off. And I rocked on up to one of the jobs, which I knew where I was going, but until I was standing there, I was like, I am here. I have always loved Tudor history. My history teacher at Thames High School, we did a whole section on Tudors in the 7th form, and I loved it ever since then. So this place that I turned up to was actually Hampton Court Palace, which is where this lady lived, and I was caring for her for initially the weekend. So it's Henry VIII's old pad. And
I was going to say, I was like, I'm just going to nod. I have no idea what you're
Cardinal Wolsey, Henry VIII. It's, if you've seen Bridgerton, the second series, those outdoor shots are at Hampton Court Palace. So that's why I've been doing a wow lately, because I'm like, oh my God, I used to walk in that, place, and so that's my wow moment. And I was fortunate enough to look after a lady who lived in a Grace and Favour apartment. She was close to
Grace and Favour.
Yeah, she's almost 90, and Grace and Favour is where she was gifted the use of the apartment in the palace. She was one of the few residents that were still living in those. And she was gifted it because her husband had been in the army, and so that had been gifted to her. There were lords and ladies that had lived in there, and quite a community at the time, but as they were getting older, the apartments weren't being given out for Grace and Favour again. It was also open, Hampton Court Palace, as open to visitors. It's a huge tourist attraction. And so it would be open during the day with people
Out
sort
and
of cruising
about.
around, and I got to know some of the gorgeous interpreters there who were dressed in beautiful finery and the outfits of the day from, you know, Henry VIII's time through to, a lot later periods of time as well. So that was that's, I guess, a wow moment because it was quite personal, and I ended up living there for 8 months, looking after Molly, who I was looking after, and the Henry VIII thing. I just her apartment was in the middle of the palace. My room was actually, well, the apartment actually was one of the Henry VIII's old retreat rooms, which I found out.
Whoa.
And there were a few interesting sort of vibes in the apartment. So I got to walk around at night when people went there and when it was closed, and across the old cobblestones. Look, I mean, it's incredible history. So I was very fortunate with that experience.
It sounds like that wouldn't be like an opportunity, obviously, open to just old anyone. I mean, some people obviously come to the place and have, you know, the touristy tour, but you're like staying, living inside. And
I was
get
so
to walk around when
fortunate.
No one's else
It was
around.
like,
That's insane. It's
well,
cool.
I landed and I sent a postcard to my mum and dad. We're from the palace saying, at the time, because postcards were the thing, email was still relatively new, it was that long ago, and no cell phones. So I sent them a postcard and said, hey, the security's not too bad here. And although in the security card that I had to fill in the form, the disclaimer form for living in and looking after lovely Molly, was one of the questions was, have you been involved with the IRA? So it was in the
IRA, which is
Irish Republican Army. So
right.
so it's like it was just a different period of time.
Yeah.
So I did set the security off one night when my friend Andy, who was actually an Australian, arrived in his panel van and the guards let him through because not many people lived in the palace, and they didn't check him properly, and then there was this whole thing because it was a panel van and what was in the back of the van.
Wow.
I got told off, but anyway.
I'm just so surprised. That's really, really, really cool. Because again, like the reference to Bridgerton, like it's just. Sorry, I'm just having a personal wow moment because that's really cool.
Well, it wows me. And then, gosh, in my wow moments in New Zealand with heritage is with being curator at Alberton and being particularly, you know, that was, again, a neat property. I didn't live there, but I was there for a lot of the week because I worked, you know, every day there. And it was just it was a special place, and it had its own special vibes as well of the history and the heritage. And it's a European heritage at Alberton, but and what a great gift that it was given, you know, to Historic Places Trust. Yeah.
When you were studying history and making sense, because I think that's the beauty of people who know history, like you go deep into both sides of the story. Usually we hear the story of the winners, you know, like the people who went to the battles and actually made something happen in a country. But when you study history, you gotta go through what actually happened and check facts and see what happened to the people who were at a place before something happened. Was there a time that you felt a bit like conflicted by being in a place? Because there's this image of wealth and things are huge and castles and palaces, and then did you have that moment at some stage of saying like, wow, this was part of history, you know, like so much happened for this to happen? Were you making sense of all of that?
I think in older properties, the history that's recorded, as many of us know, not all the voices are heard. So either you don't know them, or they may have been recorded in a small way,
right,
or from someone else's perspective. So, and you take your own knowledge of life as it is, say in our time, if this makes sense, to that time as well, and that's when you've gone to kind of reconcile it, to actually go, well, you thought this might have happened, or the opinion should have been this, but it was a different time.
Different time.
Yeah. What is it's different to history, but what I quite enjoy, I guess, with like the All About Whitianga work that I do is that I get to look at, which sounds a little bit boring, but statistics and analytics that we do for the website, but it shows trends of who's looking, what's happening. So it's not so much, it's kind of a reflection. Well, it is. It's a reflection of what people are doing. So, for instance, when All About Whitianga started, most people were looking on their desktop when they were viewing All About Whitianga. So there'd be about 50% of people, say in sort of 2013, 14, 15. In the last few months when we've been looking at our statistics, mobile phones, 80%, well, not quite 80% always, but it's 68 to 74 to sometimes 80. It's around about that. And in the school holidays, for instance, it was 74% because more people and visitors were in town on their mobile phones. And then that switched, it's pulled back a little bit as people have gone back to work and people are a little bit more on their desktop. But most people are looking mobile phones, then a desktop, and then tablets.
Right.
So using different devices,
It's history. You're documenting things. And that's the thing with analytics that we always talk about. Nowadays, we can be very clear about what we're offering and how much we reach and who are the people that we're reaching because the numbers are so precise. And that's history, right? Like it becomes a document, you know, like in the future, as you were just saying, like we'll be able to check and like the numbers will be so precise compared to a time that it was hard, or you would find that book or you would find that author who wrote something and then you try to connect with something else to make sense, and now we have all very well described.
But so on the backside of it, though, as much as it's exciting, it just means that there's so much more, like you say, data, but then everything's like images and things that will just forever exist. You know, because everything's somewhat recorded and
there's
tracked
a lot.
and stuff like. So I mean, it's great. Yeah, it's great. Like because it will be there to look back on. But I mean, like, you know, it's kind of scary to think too that, you know.
I had a report across my desk this week, which Kat, my colleague, fired my way, which I appreciate.
Shout out to Kat. Mwah.
Definitely.
Kat.
Awesome.
Love you.
So Kat had sent through this report from Hootsuite. It was a digital report. So for anyone who's not familiar with Hootsuite, it's a platform which you'll be familiar with that people can use to manage and schedule their social media and things. It's an international company and I think it's based, their head office is based in Geneva. But the report had, which was really useful, information about New Zealand specifically in it, and it was relating to the age group of 16 to 64. And it had in it that out of that sort of group, 96% had mobile phones. So not 100% surprising, but that's a interesting number to know. Yeah. And out of that group, according to the report, so this is how it can get very detailed with information, people were spending over I think it was something like 6 hours a day on the internet. So again, maybe not 100% surprising. I mean, I'm on the internet a lot because of obviously my job, but also the tools I use, like my accounting system, my email marketing. I go online to access those things as well. And then one other interesting thing that it mentioned was that something like, I think it was 58% of people will go online to research a brand before and or information before they purchase. So whether that says to me, that's really good information, that you have to be online, whether you're a business wanting to sell something or whether you're a community group wanting to get members or get your fundraiser going, you need some visibility online. Yeah. So whatever channel you're going to use, whether it's a website, social media, or use other digital marketing channels like email marketing or texting, you've got to be out there to really be seen and target yourself very much to the audience where they want to see you. So whoever your audience is, or your customer, or the person you want to get your tickets or to engage in your fundraiser, be where they, want to see you.
which social medias are you on personally, not professionally?
That's a mean question. I'm on Facebook and not active on Facebook apart from for some business posts. We have our own business channels, which are very active. Thank you very much, Kat, who manages that. My Facebook, my own personal Facebook has, I was saying to Chloe earlier, like my profile picture is from when I was 34. So people are going to be disappointed when I update it quite seriously.
What's the name of that, Chloe?
no.
How do you call it when you have an old picture?
It's like, an old picture? Or do you mean
said
just like
that,
a catfish?
Catfish. I didn't know
Like
this
catfish.
expression.
Maybe I'll just-
I wouldn't say you're catfishing. Like,
It's not what it is. It's not the
I
same.
mean, people might be.
I
but
just
don't
don't go on it. So, and then I also have an Instagram,
Okay.
which I didn't know about, which I may have set up or someone else in my family for me. So I don't have anything on that. But I did have 13 followers.
Yes!
So
Cool.
I don't know why they were following me. I think they're just, how people randomly. And I think that's it. That I'm person. Yeah. We have a YouTube channel. Oh, that's for All About Whitianga, but it's a very quiet little channel.
Right.
Yeah.
How is the relationship with cell phones and devices at home? Because you have young children. Is that right?
We have a gorgeous daughter. So yes, she's in senior school, and I mean she uses her device a lot for schoolwork and keeping in contact with her friends. I mean, way back in my day, you'd pick up the phone and have a chat and talk for hours. She's on her Insta stuff and chatting. But something that I think as a parent and parents, both Dean and I, having a chat with her about that, she didn't get on any channels really early because, as soon as you're out there, it's like this.
Yeah, and it's there forever.
Out there.
Yeah.
So it's just being mindful of that, and everybody in their families will have their comfort zone around when that happens. So we were just mindful on that. I guess working in digital channels ourselves.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're having, two parents that are sort of, cyberly aware, it'd be an appropriate sort of thing, like conversation to have with her, obviously.
Yeah, I think that's for anyone though. I mean, I know I see some comments that end up on when I do sort of go onto Facebook. I just think, wow, that conversation's happening. It's like, or posts like, I'm going to bed now, or I'm, what shall I have for dinner? But the thing is then it gets the whole stream of people replying. Yeah. It's like, I don't have time to do that. Do others? They do, because it happens. So I find it great, use the platform, but I just don't have time. I'm too busy doing stuff in real life.
Have you ever had a peek at Fitty Chit Chat?
I've dipped in and out of it on occasion. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah. Chit Chat is actually a great supporter of our show. Because we post all our links on Chit Chat, and there's a lot of engagement coming from as you said, you gotta pay attention to what's happening. So those community groups, when they're used in the proper way, the right way, they're very good to connect people. Of course you're gonna have the madness and the craziness, but like it's because it's people.
And we've posted information on there as well on our competitions, which is great, just to let people know. Yeah, so I think they absolutely have their place, And also there's a lot of, if something happens in the community and somebody needs help, or they're a great place
Always
to
there,
connect people super quick.
Right. That's right.
Which is awesome.
So I wanted to take there a little bit because who said here in the show, like it's still people, like we say social media like is this alien thing. They're like, oh, we don't know, and we're like, well, there's obviously people in charge of that, and that's the part that we have to pay attention and be careful, so we don't become a victim of whatever system it's operating there. But it's a way to connect with friends, with family, but it can get quite deep, because that's what the algorithm will do, right? It will feed you whatever you're looking at, you know. So that's something that we start to wrap our heads around, you know, like, oh, cool, it's a great tool, but you gotta pay attention. You gotta be mindful of how you're using. Is there anything that, oh, I don't know if the word scares you, but like maybe you're a little bit like worried because you have a professional side that is so efficient and you're making such a good job out of it, like you using at its best form, but you're still there in amongst all the other things that are happening there. So do you look at it sometimes and you're like, oof, this is, wow, how are we going to deal with this in the future? It might change, it might not. Do you have that look at it of like,
I think around, I mean, something with social media, you're kind of, you are on a platform that you're always, no matter what you're doing, you're going to be authentic and be yourself. It's about gaining trust. So like you would person to person. You might well have comments that are said on social media. So that's where it's, you know, being able to respond to those well. And if they're really inappropriate, you know, there's the opportunity to get rid of them. I think sometimes there's definitely, I've never had to remove anything from like social media. And some, you know, you'll have to decide as a business or as a person what's appropriate or outside of the realms of appropriateness as well. So if someone genuinely has a question or disagrees with something, it could be out there, and that's absolutely fine. So it's about responding to it. And not everyone is on social media, but it's undoubtedly a big part of people's lives. We also use other channels like email marketing. So that gets quite a response from people too, which is really interesting. So from a business side of things, anything that we use in the social media side of things or our email marketing always drives people back to All About Whitianga, driving that traffic back. So I guess for, say, a platform like our website, Google ranking is extremely important. So it's about driving traffic back. We have customer reviews that can be put on the website for businesses, and businesses can respond and people can make reviews. So we've got that element to the website as well. Something that, speaking of Google traffic, we work really hard. You can't, that's why Whitianga is a beast, and everything is, you need to keep feeding it, make sure it's got relevant, up-to-date information to it. So pretty much using those channels for social media to come back. But I guess it's just about maybe comments would be my main thing on social media channels and things, and what's appropriate to have there, which generally most things are, but some, you've got to think about how you'd manage them if it's really inappropriate.
Right. You are, Chloe, from a generation who probably engaged with cell phones at an early
I think like in Whitianga, we were, I know out of my friend, like my childhood friend group, we'd hang out with, like my best friend lived maybe like 8 houses down on my street. We were like the first ones to get broadband and like had a computer and stuff like that. So like small things, like starting from gaming, and then there were things like my older siblings were into. It wasn't really like MySpace time, but it was things like Bebo and like...
What is Bebo?
Bebo, it was another sort of form of Facebook. It was just like a messaging forum sort of thing where you can like post photos, and you could sort of like you have your own, it was like your own little website actually, because you could do a bit of like HTML sort of coding and have like music play. So the moment you click on to Leo's profile and that sort of stuff. Yep. But I remember when like my year group all started to join Facebook, and it was quite funny. I think I don't actually have a real reference of like how early Facebook was then, but like we were genuinely like 13, maybe 12, 13. And they had like these games on Facebook, like things like Farmville and like Fish Tank and like stuff. So you would log in to Facebook just to play these games like Farmville, where you just click a person around and, you know, I don't know, do farm things like grow tomatoes, harvest tomatoes, like, and then you like message things that you were laughing about earlier, like hey guys, just had the best day, had ice cream and fish and chips, have netball tomorrow, good night. And people would like be like, good night, good night, good night. And they're just like your school friends that you'll see like tomorrow. It was really weird. But yes, we were exposed.
It's still the same.
It's still the same. Yeah, it's still the same. Yeah, I think now there's this possibility of engaging with more friends at the same time, because I remember calling my friends quite often, you know, like every night I would call a friend, and I still remember a lot of telephone numbers, you know, like a lot of them. I'm like, because that was the thing. So like, I think now as we all evolution or whatever progress we want to call it, but like now it's just this possibility of engaging with more people, but it's just a social thing, right? To wanting to connect with people.
That's in a different way. That's how All About Whitianga the idea was found.
Right.
So before we moved to Whitianga, we had bought a section here.
In town, in Whitianga.
In Whitianga,
Yep.
we were living in Auckland, and because we were a bit too far away, we needed someone to do the lawns. We went online, and this was many, many years ago now, and we couldn't find a lawnmower person for love or money. And it's like, where is everybody? How do I find a number? Nobody had a visibility there. So we asked around, we rang Tracy, who we knew at the Waterways office, and she literally got probably a hard copy card and then gave us the phone number over the phone, and then we connected via phone, which was fantastic, and we got our lawns done. But Dean and I were like, wow, there's something here that this town really needs. So that was an example. Many of the businesses we work with All About Whitianga are smaller sort of business, small to medium-sized business or micro businesses. So anything from the owner, operator being in the business to 2, 3, 4, or husband and wife teams or partners or whatever. So it grew from there, the idea, because we thought, gosh, we could bring our skills into town. We could grow something like All About Whitianga and have a profile for people, make it cost effective for smaller businesses and just easier to find information, because that experience. So now what a lot of the businesses that we first had on board All About Whitianga in the earlier days, many of them didn't have websites or visibility or didn't have Facebook pages or anything. I had a look in the last month, and I'm not sure of the exact percentage in the early days, but now I think there's only about 15% of businesses, for instance, that advertise with us that don't have a website. And out of that 15%, which is a small portion, most would have a social media page, so they connect. That's where the idea of All About Whitianga as well. This is actually your profile, and it's going to work really well, engage you with a big audience already. And what's happening now is certainly it then drives traffic to all those customers now who have been building their own websites and social media presence. Maybe it just drives the traffic from their profile page to those other pages as well. So it's a bit of a merry-go-round, and it just helps to build traffic.
That's actually literally like another reason why I love your website so much. There's like a certain, like, I don't know how far to take it, but like a certain takeaway thing that I, for whatever reason, I actually eat a lot of and haven't saved the number. But every time I go to Google, it's like blah, 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 Whitianga, and then it's like, and then it's literally All About Whitianga. So I go through your platform to their page so I can give them a call. If not, it's usually on their profile is their number. If not, an easy link to their takeaway menu. And I'm like, God, this bloody website's awesome.
Yeah, and they can add their takeaway menu. It's great.
It's
so
awesome.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad we're keeping everybody fed in the household.
Kathy, do you think there is still a little bit of resistance or people, especially like talking about small towns, like do you even it's undeniable that it's growing, and All About Whitianga reaches so many people and all the businesses are there, but do you feel like some people are still reluctant about the online presence because it's like, oh, but we're a seasonal town, you know, like when people come, they will find us anyway. They know we're here. Do you think it's still a thing, or now it's already shifting? People understand it doesn't matter how big or small you are. It's your it's a print. So like you need this. You gotta be there. It's great that you have your customers that are loyal, but there's the people who don't know you, and this place is growing. So
And it's also, even in a small town, sometimes people think that you'd know every business. If you live in a small town, you don't necessarily. So more people are definitely knowing the value of being online. There's still some people, you know, that definitely there's different platforms you can use. So whether it's radio and print as well and online. So a mix might work for you.
Yep.
But the reality is more and more people are online. And what we've noticed also with our views is that we get people locals looking, but we've also got an audience from what I call the Golden Triangle. So it might be batch owners or people, New Zealanders coming to visit. So
It's like Auckland, Hamilton.
Auckland, the Waiata Waikato, Bay of Plenty, and that shows in our Google Analytics.
right.
And particularly in the last few years, it's been quite New Zealand based. Our main audiences over many years have been mainly New Zealand audiences, and certainly the international audience has always been there. And then COVID, everything pulled back a little bit with some of those international views. And in the last few months, we've been seeing more peaks in, well, always from New Zealand. So we've also, so the Golden Triangle, Christchurch, Wellington, Rotorua are peaking in there.
Yeah, I was about to ask, like, especially during post-COVID-y times when things really relaxed up a bit, just like, I noticed where I am, a lot of people from down south, which was like, they were coming up for weekends and stuff.
Camper vans and coming up.
Oh, but and literally just for weekends and stuff. Like, and so I was just about to ask, when did you notice that, like, the southern sort of...
So that
So they
in the
started
last, probably the last, 6 months, I mean, we've seen a lot of Christchurch sort of peaking in there. I think we've had the odd Invercargill. It's with Google Analytics, I'm quite 100% sure as to how people are really linked, but that's what it's been telling us. And the international audience is definitely starting to peak in a lot more now. So we've got US is the big runner at the moment, followed by Australia, Ireland, the UK, and Sweden is peaking in there. Yeah.
Sweden.
So we've got some interest from Sweden. Yeah.
Sorry, that was I thought I could get away with that. Did you hear me, Kathy?
I didn't hear you.
No, she just gave me that look like, ooh, those Swedish boys will be around soon.
Oh, no. I thought you were laughing at my accent.
I thought you gave me like a look.
I did like a really, really bad Swedish accent.
Oh, okay,
and I was like, and then I thought you cracked and caught me. So I just...
Yeah, because I saw you like...
Yeah, I was and I got embarrassed because I don't want to do it again. So I'm not going to do it again. So
I thought you were thinking about the target, the public target coming.
I think
let's hope some of those Swedes are going to come into town, you know, later in the year with the borders opening up a bit more, and that would be fantastic for particularly our operators in town, our tourism operators. So we've had a fantastic New Zealand sort of visitors coming into town in the last school holidays. It was super busy in town. But really we also need those internationals coming back. So I'm hoping that trend will continue going up and that it'll, you know, result in feet on the ground. And so
it's good for all the local businesses and for everything around here, right? We kind of rely, like last 2 summers were great for the locals with New Zealanders traveling more often, but we know that what really drives this place is international tourism, right?
Also, well, we've also got a lot, it'll be interesting to see what the next New Zealand census has, particularly for Whitianga, because talking over the last year or couple of years, a lot of people have moved
into town. Yeah, there's a whole lot of
retiring earlier, or they're actually buying new businesses, or there's all sorts of amazing talents in town that it's tucked away and people are here.
Whitianga's just grown, I would say, quite drastically, and in a lot of ways. Like, I mean, there's more smaller families, there's more businesses, so like varieties. Like, there's may or may not have, like, back in the day, as you were saying, trying to find someone to mow your lawn. Back then, there probably was like maybe 1 or 2, 3, even less lawn mowing businesses. But now you've got like the variety. There's so many
and a diverse mix of people.
There's so towns. I reckon town's huge. I used to, like, having grown up here. We were joking about off camera. a supermarket thing, you know, when you go to the supermarket, you think you're going to be in and out, and then you start running into this person and that person and this person, and then an in and out to grab a chocolate bar turns into like half an hour, and you're like, oh my God, I just seen the whole of Whitianga at the supermarket. But now it's like there's so many unfamiliar faces, which is a great thing. It's really exciting, I think, but like just the variety in ages and the diversity, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Cathy, for the people who are watching our show, listening to this, who are not from the Coromandel, they have an idea, they want to engage more, they want to work more with websites. Which are the tools or things that you would highly recommend people to tune in and put some time to study? I saw recently that Kat is doing is it the digital marketing
diploma? She's the smart one on our team. She's awesome. She's balancing pretty much full-time work and her diploma, studying for that, and she's just acing it. She's doing awesome, so we're super proud of her.
Cool. So what would you recommend people to tune in if you really want to dive into the online market? You were talking about Google, you were talking about I think the SEO, the SEO, it's a big thing we haven't mentioned, but is that the SEO?
SEO, yeah, search engine optimization.
Right, yeah.
Above my full pay grade of what I know, but I know a little bit about it. Yeah, so essentially SEO is you need good SEO for anything online and for your website. So SEO means that if it's working really well, essentially Google will pick you up and rank you well, and you'll get on at least page 1 and hopefully
and the Google
ranking
search.
1.
Right.
And organic ranking is always the best if you can achieve that. And that's where we've always been quite proud, that because we've worked hard on our SEO, that many of our pages on All About Whitianga are ranking 1 or at least on page 1. So SEO is about how, not only just how a website looks, it's about keywords, where they are, getting them in there. So if people are searching for certain things, you've got the right keywords that are going to resonate with your audience. It's how the pages load, the size of, the pictures and images that you have. So that's one. I mean, it's the whole digital marketing side of things and getting online. There's all sorts of things that you can learn and get engaged with and try and target. But if you're looking as a business or a community group to get an online presence, it's sitting back and going, right, what have I got to offer and who is my audience? My audience is not everybody. My audience will be, I've got this to offer and these will be the people in my audience. There might be a number of people, but you'll have maybe a customer persona, which means that you'll think about, okay, I've got some people in my audience that will be of an older age group and may want to find me online via a website. My younger audience might be on Insta. And so that's where I might need to be. So I think it's thinking what's your product or the thing that you want to promote or engage people with, and then where do those people hang out? And so that's why we use different channels, and I'm not saying that we've got it perfect at all, but I know that there's quite a number of our audience that do like email marketing. There's certainly, and everything gets driven back to the website because that's our core. And then our social media channels, we've been growing, but we've not been doing everything at once. So again, just carefully grow those things. And then there is so much online that you can learn about how to use different things and the elements of things. We can't do it all though, so depending on how much time you've got, focus on the first things first and do them well and do them planned. And if you have got the capacity to employ someone, then do that if you're able to, if it makes sense, and an expert in that field. So, I work with lots of tradespeople. Their expertise isn't setting up a web page and managing it. So that's where we can help. I'm not an expert at sorting out the kitchen sink issues and things. That's where I call them in. So definitely, while I'm saying, which I absolutely and I think all of us probably know you need to have an online presence. Think about how you're going to do that. What's your product? Who's your audience? And it might not have, as I say, even be, you're not necessarily selling something. You might be, when I worked as the curator, it was selling the history, selling the experience for people to come and visit. So yeah, it's finding the right mix and match and doing it well.
We are navigating. We're on that journey at the moment of understanding who are the audience. Who is gonna engage with us, like, because that was one of the first questions when we were working on the marketing plan and all those things. Oh, who's your target audience? And we were like, I think we have to start creating content, and then we'll have those numbers, and then we can start paying more attention. Who are we talking to? That's why we were chatting before the show. Diversity for us is so important, because now we have a better vision with our analytics. We can see the age, the numbers, who is it, what time do they engage, so the try and error seems to be
and look, even after 8.5 years, you've just got to constantly work at things. And things are changing so quickly, particularly in the digital marketing space and the digital space, full stop, that you think you've got it sussed, and then the next thing comes along. So
everything moves so quickly. Trends, everything. And it's just, unless you're just always engaged with it, it's as quick as putting your phone down for a day or being absent from an app or something, and you go back and everything's changed. There's a new trend. There's, so like the audience eye tends to move quite quickly, I think, too.
I think it's also, no matter what sort of channels you use, it's about you or your product or your brand, and it's the integrity of your brand too. So use something that's going to promote that well, that gives you the tools to do that, and it's your authenticity and ultimately the connection with your audience, your customer, and making it real. So I must say, I do still like to pick up the phone and talk to my business customers, but not everybody has the time for that. That's the reality now as well. So I'm very cognizant of that. So it might be a text or an email, or
it was
a message.
So cool that you called me on that day. I was so happy to get a call from you, because we were texting and then suddenly you called, and I'm like, saves me so much time to have chat on the phone, because
that's exactly how I feel.
Like sometimes I sound like a broken record, but I say this quite a lot. Like the fact that I'm operating on my second language, everything feels a little bit heavier, so like if I'm gonna write an email, I'm feel very self-conscious to sound like shit, like, and talking to people that I don't know, and I'm like, oh, is this, so like something that it should take 5 minutes said that it's like 25 minutes, and I'm still checking grammar. But like if someone calls me, or if I call someone, like, the person, oh yeah, it's a foreigner, it's okay, like let's go for it. It's fine. And I love that, especially face to face. If I can see someone, like the good old, let's have a coffee, let's sit down and have a chat. Like, I think that will be very hard to substitute, like that would be a rare situation that something beats a face-to-face conversation.
That's so
right?
true. And that's with actually Zoom, which I hadn't used a lot really until I hate COVID again, but doing a Zoom interview with Hannah, because she's in Auckland, and I did one with a client from Wellington, and so you're not physically in the same room, but it still gives you that connection, which is great.
Yes. Yeah.
I know for a lot of people my age, and I've witnessed, like, maybe the generation under, there's this weird thing, like, about not calling and not answering the phone. Like, they're more likely and feel more comfortable messaging, whether it be text or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, rather than like instant message, rather than answering or calling on the phone. Like,
it feels weird. It's wrong, right? Calling someone without asking.
They feel
what do you mean
so
asking?
But
that's why I'm calling.
That's why you call. And if they don't call, and then you text, and I'm always the friend that's always like, oh, can you call? Oh, can you answer that? And I'm like, no, I don't mind, because I had to do it for work, and it's the same feeling of just being comfortable. It's much more easier to communicate if it's just natural rather than like, and even like English is my first language and my grammar sucks. So,
and the thing is, the tone isn't felt.
Absolutely.
But it can be assumed, like it's the scary
Yeah,
part.
so the reader could. I might say something with a colloquial word or something, and the person's reading it for all I know, and sort of, when people sometimes will put text in caps, you go shouty, and they're not, and they just by mistake put caps on. So
same with this exclamation point, right?
Yeah.
It sounds like like it's the greatest conversation ever, and it's not.
I've literally done both of those things in the last 24 hours. I accidentally had caps on a message, and the person replying, it was a bit of a debate, replied being like, stop being so loud. I was like, over message? And she's like, you wrote in caps locks. I was like, my finger slipped, sorry. And then I said something a little aggressive to a friend, but it was meant to be a question mark. Like, how long do I have to wait? Instead of a question mark, I wrote an exclamation mark and had to type really, 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 really quickly. That was meant to be a question mark. I'm really sorry. I'm not angry. Like, they were like,
and then you spend even more time explaining
trying to explain
yourself.
it when all I could have just said was like, hey man, how long do I have to wait? Rather than like,
and spell check.
Mm.
Well, with it, yeah. Absence for was quite a few years ago now, but it made me laugh. Instead of sending CATHY KLOUWENS will be absent at school today, it did a changeover, and Captain KLOUWENS will not be at school today.
That's just like autocorrect.
Suddenly, we've got sort of this rank going on in our household, and without glasses on, it's like, whoop. So I'm very careful.
There's a cool thing, especially I think it might be common with other types of phones, but like on iPhones, you can the setting where, so to make texting more efficiently, so instead of saying like on my way, you can just write OMW, not just text language, but if you just type that into your keyboard, it would suggest I'm on my way and stuff like that. So it's like an easy, there's a word for it, but you can actually change it. So like, so for example, I can change in Leo's phone when he writes the letters NO, it will change it to yes. And so I could change it in his phone, and I could be like, hey, Leo, let's have a party at your place on Saturday. And he'd go, no, but it would send yes. And I've seen so many
Watch out, Leo, it's dangerous. The man who never says no.
But again, with the autocorrect, it's really, it can be dangerous, like you said, yeah. But I use it, like, it's quite handy quite often when you're filling out forms and stuff online. You're always writing out your email address, I find. So I just made like a keyword thing where I write the @ sign twice, and it just will put my thing in all on my phone.
You mentioned the thing, Chloe, with teenagers or younger people not being so inclined to call or to answer a call. Do you feel like it's a generational thing? Like it's just because we're so much there that this might start to not be that cool and normal? What do you think?
Me, Kathy?
Both?
Okay, here you go.
Of the older generation, probably, yeah. Yeah, I think it is, because that's my comfort zone of picking up the phone, but I also totally respect people want to be communicated with in different ways, but I just find it quicker and easier, to be honest. And depending what it is, although sometimes, I will use text a lot for quick things or things that, we can just quickly make a date of things, but yeah, I think I love to hear people's voices and quick chat.
Sweet.
Do you send audio messages, Chloe? Because now it's a thing, at least among my friends. Sometimes I get audio messages. I'm not a big audio message guy, so I reply, I write, but I get audio messages. Do you engage in audio messages?
Depending, oh my God, I hate to admit this, but like depending on what app I'm using and what kind of conversation I'm having.
Okay.
Yeah, because like there's an app called like another form of media, and a way to communicate is like Snapchat. So I think we've briefly talked about it. It's like a sort of a photo sending app, but you can also chat, and that's like something, if I can't be bothered to text, but I don't want to pick up the phone and call, I will send not only a voice memo, or I'll just video myself talking as if I'm talking to the person and send them the clip, and then they do the same back. Or it's just like it's like a lazy thing, but hiding behind the phone, I think, is a very big thing for younger generations, because I grew up with a home landline. Like, I know my childhood best friend's phone number still. And then we switched over, and I remember getting my first cell phone, which had like no camera and stuff, but we would call each other all the time. And then it was like on Facebook was the new way to communicate, but you'd still see your friend, you still call your friends. And then just watching that evolve, it's just like there's obviously generations now younger than me that didn't start off with that. So their first way of communicating to their friend when they're not around them in the face is through like instant message. So it's like, I think that the phone call thing would definitely, I'm not called become obsolete, but just obviously just not actually that common, I don't think, anymore. So
the immediacy thing also for wanting a response quickly back is,
it's a massive.
If you don't respond, it's like
that's a response.
Yeah.
It's in itself. It's
like,
taken
oh,
as,
why are they not responding? So it's I guess with my heritage kind of background, it's back in the day, you know, of Henry VIII or the ladies at Alberton. You would wait for days or a week, maybe, to get news. You wouldn't in the course of your day text or message somebody or a group to say, doing this, I'm eating porridge for breakfast, or whatever, or this and this has happened. You'd delay that information and maybe sit around the dinner table and talk about that. Or it would be kind of like, watching some of those older series, Bridgertons and things. The news would be longer to be told, and in some occasions I think that would be actually quite nice. Others, emergency situations, obviously not, but it's different. So totally different times. So immediacy is something that is, definitely that technology.
Just like across the board, hey, it's pretty, like, you see trends and stuff. Oh, where are we going to go? I should probably have thought about this more before I opened my mouth. But, like, again, with the immediate, is it correct? The immediate, I can't say it now.
Immediacy,
yeah. It's just, it's always in your face now. So, like, you build up this expectation, but then it's, like, on the other side, too, you don't realise not how small an issue could be, but just because it's presented at you that quickly, that it builds that sort of... I suppose the urgency, like with news and stuff like that, it's like because of the immediacy. Got it. It builds a certain sort of like urgency. You've seen that with a lot of like the news regarding COVID and stuff like that. It was just because it's there and it's quick and you send it out and all of that, and like with factual news and all of that stuff, it's like right there, so it builds a reaction. And it's sort of just like if it was to be written out in the newspaper, like you'd have to wait, and then it would be like a more controlled sort of reaction rather than it's in your face and then you swipe away and then it's there again or something different. And it's
sometimes you can start ignoring messages just because there's too much. It's overload as well. So I think it's being conscious, like for using our platform as well, is and the different ways that we communicate with people. When we want to do it very well, so we like to bring a really professional element to it, and we always strive to give the information that's appropriate in a timely manner and all of those sorts of things, but not just bombard people, because we all get that in our life in all sorts of ways and forms.
You mentioned the fear of missing out last night when we were having a chat.
Yeah, FOMO.
It's such a big thing. And I mentioned that, but like I was thinking about something else before. How two things, especially when you have friends who live overseas. Like it feels like the conversation never ends, because like there's no point in engaging, like in replying to the person straight away. Like you're not going and having to meet with that person tonight, you know? So like there's this thing of like you read a message and then you wait and you might reply. If you see that the person is online, sometimes you get a little bit of engagement, but most of the time you send something and then you wait for days and then the person, you know, there's this thing with like the conversation, it feels like it's never ending, like it goes on. But then I was thinking, that's kind of like a letter. Yeah, like relationship with a letter, you know, like when you would write a letter and then you send it, who knows when you're gonna hear back from the person, you know, like, so completely different media, but like it can relate. You can stretch it because you want to. If it's someone that you're very comfortable with and it's a friend that you know that there's no pressure at all, you're just writing and then you feel good about it and then you write a lot. And then you know, like, they might not even reply for a month and it's fine. But there's also on this, like, and then there's the other person that you're waiting for an answer and you see that they saw your message.
To be left unseen.
They saw it and they're like, and then you think, damn, why?
Just
you know, like what?
Your mind takes over.
So like these details of what internet gives us as an opportunity, I think that's the thing that we're still navigating, and it's gonna take time for young people, for all of us, to kind of like sit and understand how it affects us, because suddenly you have this rush of anxiety because the person didn't answer and you're like, whoa, but she was online, he wasn't like, and then but it's fine. People are busy. People are doing other things, you know, and sometimes you just had that moment to have a look and then you're going to reply later.
Yeah, but in the moment, it's a little hard to
It's
really
hard,
think
isn't it?
sensibly and back. Oh, hey, they might be baking a cake and they've had to just get it out of the oven, or they're flipping an egg, or they're having a shower, and it's like, no, but they still have time to send me a text. They could have. They've seen it. Why didn't they reply? It's always like, Yeah, no.
Do you feel like with business, it's easier, or sometimes you're talking to a client and you are like, why is this taking so long? What's wrong with these people? Are they working, or they're working too much, or they're not working at all? Why are they taking so long to reply to these emails? Jeez.
Look, I see how many emails come in my inbox. So no, it's also, I guess in the sense with clients, I've got fabulous relationships with many businesses. So I understand they're busy and they'll be on the tools, or they're working hard at their businesses. But also with others, it's about nurturing a relationship. So in the case of, seeing if somebody would like to get on board All About Whitianga, to do a listing or get some information from them, if there's the sales process or the process of building a relationship, you need to nurture it. You can't take someone right from here, cold, to here and expect them to go, yep, sure, fine, here's all the information, and they have got a lot in their day and a lot to deal with themselves. So it's like any relationship, whether it's a business or whatever, it's sort of taking people along the journey so that they know more about you. There's the trust, and then they find out about you, your integrity, what you're about, what you can offer, whatever. So, so there were statistics a while ago which I think said something like, particularly for bringing businesses on board or clients, not specifically for All About Whitianga, but it could take something like 14 interactions before a sale might have been made. And I think it went up to 22 at some stage. Fortunate enough, I don't have to go through that longer process usually with businesses, but it just depends where kind of people are at. And different types of businesses as well. Not everyone, for instance, in trades and services will be building a house often. So, there's a different interaction with that type of business versus what I do versus what someone selling in a shop does. But, that contact, can be a longer process, and it's certainly not something that's personal. It's just people busy. Yeah. And there is a point where, if somebody really isn't replying, leave it be.
No reply is a reply, is what they say.
Where do you see All About Whitianga going to? Or just like not only as All About Whitianga, what other areas or what other things would you like to be involved with? Or
All About the universe, no.
I like that. Yeah, that's cool.
I like that.
I think really just growing our brand and growing really the connections that we have, and developing more and more connections, because in the Mercury Bay, a lot of our different settlements and communities, they are growing. And as we've talked about, there's fantastic people coming into town, and a lot more things happening. So just kind of nurturing that and growing that even more. The whole purpose behind the website when we first had the idea for it was to bring our skills into town and contribute to town, to use our skills to give back and help with the economic development of town as well. So that continues to be a big part of the purpose, and that's probably where we see it at the moment. So we've got some more goodies that we'll be developing over this year. I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you. So watch this space. But it's really about enhancing and sort of growing those things. So we're pretty excited.
I was wondering about the name though.
Yes.
Because, you know, speaks for itself. Whitianga. So if you want to go and reach more people or try to start this platform in other places, is it a matter of starting a new platform with all the structure that you already have, or you think you can still keep that and keep growing? How are those dynamics when you come to the name?
So firstly, the name All About Whitianga is a bit of a play on the name. So yes, we're Whitianga the township, but Mercury Bay, for instance, and the Coromandel, we've got different settlements and a whole lot of different settlements around Mercury Bay in particular, and then the Coromandel. So All About is all about and around Whitianga. So that's the play on that. And really, we are kind of still focusing there. And yes, it would, if it went further, would need to be developed and thinking about how that kind of works.
Get different offices in different places.
Get a camper van on the road.
Oh,
you know.
Cool. Yeah. How do you feel about working at home, doing more work remotely? Because there was a big shift after the pandemic. A lot of people, like I know that you have your beautiful office and it feels like home because it's such a
kind of is,
comfortable
mirror
space. But like this shift and the work that you do allows you to be more flexible with time. And do you still try to keep your discipline with your hours that you work, or sometimes you're like, oh no, I'm gonna have I'm gonna take the morning off and work more? Like, do you still keep that routine of not time for work, home, you separate things?
I try to separate them. I mean, I'm certainly, weekends I officially have off, but we keep an eye on the website, respond to anything that we need to that's certainly urgent or needs to be responded to at that time. When we first moved to Whitianga from Auckland, it was, 11 years ago. So we were kind of working from home already and flexing, and I had an office job as well as been working from home for a little bit. So very comfortable working from home, and we do have an office space at home. So as I say, we haven't managed to get Dean back to our actual office in town, but very fortunate being in Whitianga that it's not far to actually go from home and office as well. So there's choice there, but I personally like to be in the office. I like to keep the space a little bit different and keep the spare bedroom spare so that when my mum comes to stay, we don't have to move things out and office things. So I do like that office space, and try to keep to pretty much sort of 8:38 to 5:30, whatever I do, 6 during the week. But there is the ability to flex, and I think certainly with people being able to work from home, I think it's great. And if you're able to do that, if that can help manage the way around your everyday life and your other commitments, in Whitianga, as I say, it's generally people are closer, it's easier. The commute is easier to get to your work and things. But if you're in a bigger city, that's harder. So certainly working from home has been a huge benefit, with employers being more open to that as well. But again, face to face with your colleagues and things, I think even if you are working from home and if you are in a team, not everybody is, some people are micro entrepreneurs, that there's nothing like sitting over a cup of coffee, having your meeting, so that should still be, I feel, well, for me personally, it would be an integral part of sort of my week, to have that as part of it.
Yep. Does Mum have a cell phone?
Mum sure does, and
Mum sure does.
She's 84 and awesome, and I don't know if she'd like me giving her age out, but anyway, she's really awesome. We actually got an app on her phone because we thought we were going to be going overseas for a little bit, and I'm trying to remember, I think it was WhatsApp we got put on her phone because we were thinking then we could actually see her, and we did. We trained up me and her how to use it. And then it didn't happen. But then in lockdown, it came in
cool.
beautifully because we could all kind of message each other and then go on a little video meeting between the family because we were all in slightly different places. And that was a blessing. So that was really was, because it was just nothing like being able to just actually see a special person. Yeah.
WhatsApp's such a great app.
It's a great app.
I discovered
Very
it
good
when
app.
I was traveling because you'd like make friends and sometimes you'd like buy a local sim or you wouldn't or vice versa, and it'd be like, hey man, like let's swap contact details, and then like I mean you would like do Facebook and email and sort of thing, but I don't know, even if you're just two different people from two different countries in the same country trying to communicate, WhatsApp is like the best. I still communicate with people I've met in multiple different countries through WhatsApp specifically, just because of those sort of.
Well,
it's such a good app.
It's so lovely and easy. I remember trying to get hold of my parents when I was doing my overseas travels in my 20s, and I had this vision. I would call them with the bells chiming from Vatican Square, and I was in a phone box putting in the coins, getting the exchange. The bells had started ringing. Mum or Dad picked up as the last bell finished, and it was like my whole vision in my head was, listen to where I am. And it just, didn't happen. But, well, we talked obviously, but the whole lead up, lost.
Yeah, it really helps with distance, eh? Like I think my mom would be very upset without technology to communicate with me. Like first years were not easy at all. Like she had this hope that I was going back. You know, like okay, you said 1 year. It's 1.5 years. You're not here. What's going on? And then you're like, Mom, you know, this is an opportunity. It just took time for her because they never left the country, Mom and Dad. So I think you only know what you know, right? So they never made sense of what life was in New Zealand, because it's not like America or Europe that you hear about all the time and you see on the news, and you can kind of like, I know that is not a great word, but like there's a stereotype, you know, blonde people, black people, you know, like for New Zealand was just like, where are you going, son? What's happening
Hard
there?
to visualize.
Yeah, and then like and that's the thing. New Zealand has the beautiful thing of like all the extremes and the different people. So sometimes she would Google it and it would be like a crazy Maori, and then sometimes it would be like this beautiful blonde family, and she's like, Jesus, like where are you going? You know, like like what's happening? So it took time for her to understand. Like she made this. I was not offensive with it.
What do you use? What do you use to communicate with her then?
WhatsApp.
Yeah.
WhatsApp is the one. Yeah. But like there was always this thing. It was interesting. The questions. Is it cold there? I say, Mom, like it's ridiculous. It's so cold. Brazil is a tropical country, so you know, it's so cold. Oh, do you need a blanket? Like, and then like, Mom, they have everything. Like it's way better than Brazil actually.
Aww,
like they have
cute.
like those kind of questions, you know, kind of like, is everything all right? Like you have good shoes there and everything. Is like, yeah, Mom, like we're fine, you know. But like just the thing to make sense of what it is, it made it so much easier because I could actually take my phone to places, make videos, you know, like record this. Mom, I'm drumming. Look at these people. Look at these amazing artists. Look at this community, you know, like so. She feels like part of the community quite a lot. And the people here, a lot of my friends, they say, oh, I can't wait to meet your mom, you know, like.
Will we get her over here?
So they had tickets for the week that we went through lockdown. They were coming on that week. And to be honest, like it was good that they didn't make it, because imagine if they got stuck here. Oh my God, I would have gone.
2 years.
I'm out.
They'd be living in here.
I know,
They might
right?
have set them up in here.
Jesus, imagine that. Sorry, Mom. It's good because she watches the show, but she doesn't understand, so I can't say these things. she's like, I love seeing your face. I think that's why I speak with my hands so much, to see if mom makes sense of the conversations, because she doesn't understand the word.
Son, why are you always waving your hands? Are there many flies or something?
Yeah, but they're the same, you know, like, but yeah, the thing with being able to show things, you know, like to make sense of what it's, without ever coming to the place, they have this thing of like, oh, cool, now we want to come, now we want to spend some time, and it feels like they know my friends. They always ask about Chloe, they ask about Stu, like, oh, how's Taylor, how's Hannah, and they were like, yeah, they're good. So it really shortens the distances. That's the beauty of it. Yeah, so shout out to WhatsApp, Messenger, all these platforms. You know, sometimes we criticize them, but they're very helpful. They're very helpful.
Very helpful.
And what is also helpful, it's when our beautiful friends engage and send us questions and comments. And we're lucky that we're having active live chats during our show. It looks very active. It's looking very active. So, is it okay if I just read some comments and some questions from the audience? Cool. So there you go. So Connor, he says, yo, what up? What up? Hey, Connor. Good man. Connor was here last week with Dylan, and they were talking about TikTok. So they're tuning in. Thanks, man.
Awesome.
Hey, man.
Anne Marie and Matt. Mwah. Mercury Bay Twins Cinemas. Shout out to Anne Marie. She says, I hope you win that competition, Chloe.
I was about to say, I hope to hear from you soon.
Maverick is showing. Yeah.
And then we have a couple of questions from Mr. Roberts, which is pretty cool. So he says, Cathy has been involved in supporting and reporting performing arts events at Mercury Bay, most recently our 2021 school production. How does she see the arts growing in Whitianga?
Wow, we've got a really growing arts community actually, and that school production, so that's Fabian on there, was awesome. The school team was just really stunning. I saw some of the rehearsals, but actually on the night when I went, I was just stunned at how amazing that was. So that's fantastic. I think the way that the arts, there's definitely a lot more sort of arts happening in our events coming into town, and artists in town. So calling out sort of across the board really of what you call performing arts and things. So for the growth of it, I think it's really about letting people know about it, getting them engaged, and that's how we can just really continue to grow. So I see it growing. It's just about connecting the right people. Yes. And with many of particularly our volunteer groups, it's a challenge to get people who have enough time, to be honest, on committees and organising things. So it's harnessing people who have the time. They may have, which is always a bonus, the expertise and the drive to do different elements to help also promote and connect and run things and do things. So, I see that it will grow. It is already. So that's happening kind of organically as well. That's fabulous.
Fantastic. And he says, is New Zealand ready for Meta's new Ray-Ban Stories sunglasses with multiple cameras, speakers, and links to social media? It's funny that he's mentioning this because when we were talking about like where we're going with all this thing, I was about to ask you about the Meta universe, and so I think we can link these questions and comments. Have you come across like what Facebook it's coming up?
I guess I was saying to Chloe earlier, because of my my personal not very much engagement on Facebook and that element of what happens on Facebook in my world, which is a lot of the business side of things, actually my fabulous colleague Kat steps in there and manages that, so I don't, to be honest, feel qualified to answer that one. But, you know, there's so much happening in the digital space, and Facebook is... or Meta, I should say, watch this space and carefully. I guess I'm cautious. I'm kind of just cautious about, I don't know, I just am. I'm naturally cautious and suspicious around.
I don't know. Like the way that I like to see is that I think if someone would come like from the future 15 years ago and say, hey, you're going to carry this thing in your pockets and you're going to be able to get a moment, 5 seconds of your day, send it to all your friends. Your friends are going to see what you're doing and it's going to disappear. I think we would be very surprised with that, right? And now you have Snapchat or something like that. So I understand, and I'm with you on that, about being cautious. But I think the way that it's going is just going to be so natural. The thing with having the glasses, being in the online store, and watching, like choosing things in front of you and engaging with nothing in front of you, but you're actually making choices and buying things, you know, like it sounds like, whoa, but I think it's just the way that is going. I think it's going to be so normal. Maybe in 5 years, we'll be like, oh, remember that we were talking about like how crazy it would be. And now like everybody's buying things that don't actually exist, but they come at your house with a drone and poof, they drop it there and it's there. And you just chose, no, maybe like half an hour ago.
So there's a whole area of artificial intelligence, you know, yet to come and being developed. The beauty of like things being dropped off by a drone or being able to do our online shopping means that also it can take out some of the tasks of the day and make it simpler. But also thinking of older people, people are able to stay in their homes a bit longer because they can manage their lives. And if they're unable to get out, not even if you're a bit older, if you're sick or unwell, you can do a lot of that online. So that will potentially increase some fabulous things in our lives as well. So I'm just kind of watch that space at the moment.
Yeah, 100%.
It's funny, just, I mean, not to point out our age differences between the three of us, but considering I think I am the younger generation, just what is surprising, like this isn't the first time we've talked about the glasses, Leo, and in my head I'm not surprised at all. They exist. Like it's not a like a, oh my god thing. It's just like a oh yeah. Like I'm not surprised at all. And from being someone that consumes a lot of media, you know, you people kind of tend to be a little bit cautious about this, that sort of apocalyptic AI vibe, you know, where it's danger, robots, robots shooting, kill, yeah. But like, the variety of other outcomes are so much more likely that it's just so, like, it's exciting. As scary as it is, I think we're a long way away from it being too scary. In the sense that, like, a robot's going to turn, like, I don't know, the microphone's going to wake up and kill me. But
I've just probably consumed too much Terminator and zombie movies.
I do not recommend you watch Black Mirror, and just heads out on Netflix. Do not watch Black Mirror. I mean, maybe, or maybe not.
Kathy, there's a question for you from Hanako. Hi, Hanako.
Hi, Hanako.
What's the favorite part about your job?
Oh, that's a nice question. Thanks, Hanako. Question, yeah. We have communicated before as well, so thanks for your question. It's really having I use the word connection a lot, whether it's on the phone or particularly on the phone and in person, which is my preference, I guess, or emails and things, with members of the community. It's a real privilege to be able to do that. So that gives me a real buzz. To learn about other people's stories and what makes them tick, whether it's their business or their community group. And there's a lot of good stuff happening in our community and some really fantastic people putting in lots of effort to things. And I really enjoy sort of hearing about that and then seeing how we can assist business-wise, or if it might be a personal connection as well, maybe. But very much, then how can we help? And work with whether it's a fundraiser or a business or an event coming up or someone telling their story. So I get a lot out of that. So it's that personal connection.
It must come with the hookups too, being like sort of somewhat the first to know about an event and something that's going to be released or a guest coming to town and stuff like that.
There's a few embargoed things, so
yeah,
watch the space. Oh yeah. I'm like, oh, it's awesome. I'll just have to wait for a while to be able to talk about that. So it's just stuck in my head, going round and round. But yeah,
that's cool.
Do you see All About Whitianga also promoting or like being the one in charge of events, or you more for the part of like being the support and being the platform doing the advertisements?
I think probably very much on that promotional side of things. Maybe in the future, but it's just, to be honest, we're sticking to our knitting. But certainly if we collaborate with others to do that, we would. But as just solely our own team doing that at the moment, we just don't have the capacity time-wise. But, we'll get there in their boots and all if we're collaborating with others, and we can make something great happen. I am involved with the Mercury Bay Historical Society. So plug for them. I'm on the committee for my sins. And so I help to, we haven't had, well, actually we've had some little coffee mornings and things. I can't always attend all of them because I'm working. And to be fair, most of that group are in an older age group. I'm one of the youngies there. So we need some more youngies in there too. And it's a really neat group, but they have coffee mornings. So I'm involved in that sort of way. Business-wise, it's more really driving promotion and doing it from that side of things,
What do you see as a potential thing for the youth in Whitianga, for the young people? What could be done, or where people are not paying too much attention yet to get more youth engaged with our community?
There's so thinking, I guess, with the connection with the school that I've had, there's a program with the business students where they've got kind of a mentoring program going, so matching local businesses up with the groups that are in their business classes and developing their products, whatever they may be.
Cool.
And so people are popping in and out on that. So I've been kind of involved a little bit on the outskirts of late because it's been a little bit stop and start with who's allowed into school with the COVID regulations and lockdowns and things. So that's getting a little bit more relaxed again. I think also, something that from businesses, I know there are businesses that are looking to take on apprentices and things in their businesses. And also for students, just any opportunities that might be out there, I guess, for their voice, really. There is a lot happening in the space for youth. Something that my daughter and a number of her friends and some other students from school had the opportunity to do. Last year now was Coast Guard, had a Coast Guard cadet program, and they're running it again this year. So there were 10 of students last year, and they had, I think it was 14 or 15 weeks on a Sunday, where these amazing Coast Guard volunteers took out the students in two different groups, usually a morning and an afternoon, and they had very much practical hands-on experience in the boats. They sat their day skippers courses and their first aid courses. So the students got to work together, work with, and like the plane build at school. These adults that have got a lot of knowledge and a lot of skill, and they're sharing that with the students and all the youth. And the kids are sharing back, I guess, their thoughts as well, which will be heard at the same time. So Whitianga has got some great opportunities, and whether that be through sports and arts and the Coast Guard programs and things. So it's just continuing to make sure that those are actually supported. There's some neat things happening in the community.
May I ask something? Do you think Whitianga needs a bowling alley?
Oh, bowling alley.
I'm really pushing for it. I really want a bowling alley.
Bowling's fun.
Bowling is great. Imagine having like a diner area as well for all ages, competitions.
You could start it up and get something going there.
Fundraiser.
Get a group.
Give me a call after I win the movie voucher thing. So I'll call you after my movie. Just thinking ahead.
Cool. Thanks for sharing your thoughts.
I really want a bowling alley.
Fantastic.
Then they could be selling bowling shoes in town. There'd be a whole industry around it.
Cool.
Yeah, bowling alley.
Anything else you want to ask? That was amazing. I wonder if you got more of those questions.
Random questions.
That was great. Random questions are good. We're so niche. The bowling was great.
No, I'd like to know. I don't know. I just wanted to know What do you thought about bowling? Yeah.
ALTBAYS will support that idea.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
All
hope
About
so.
Whitianga will jump on board too, right?
Absolutely, and I
Cool.
I have bowled in a bowling alley, not well. Yeah,
See, but if we had one here, you could practice.
There
So,
you go.
yeah.
imagine getting your like, own custom bowling ball, and then like your own custom like bowling ball bag, team shirts, all over it. Oh my god!
See,
Oh
the
my
industry has
God.
started already. Yeah.
I've put a lot of thought into this. Yeah.
The youth will love that,
It's a
right?
great-
There you go.
Another place for the youth to hang out.
Put it out
You know what I
there.
mean?
Good.
Yeah. Get started in hospo. first
Chloe
job.
for mayor. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
I'll be in your office, girl. I'm there.
I maybe we should start a little bit smaller for ALTBAYS merch. We'll just have like a limited edition bowling shirt with my face on it. Yeah.
Cool.
There's going to be a bowling club committee. It's
Sounds great. Sounds fantastic.
All over it.
Thanks for sharing it. That's good.
Thanks for
What
letting me-
would, what
thank you
would you
for your
like to
opinion.
see in Whitianga? Well, not the bowling idea, but is there anything that you would love to see in our community that is not happening yet?
gosh. I mean, there is so much happening, but what I think we do need is somewhere. So we've got the fabulous Monkey House Theatre. And that's amazing as a venue. We need a bigger indoor venue. I think
Yeah.
I agree.
which
Yeah,
would
me
be
too.
either for performing arts, concerts, meetings, conferences.
I agree.
You know, where
100%.
people when people could come for a retreat here with businesses as well and have a conference and use a lecture theatre or whatever. So a space for that kind of thing. So it's a bigger space, and that's no mean feat to achieve, because obviously that's an expensive one to achieve, and who would drive that and do that. So that would be great to see, to really complement what the town has, and then with the accommodation providers, things like that being in town, then start supporting everything else
Yes,
around.
yeah.
Now that you mentioned that, I'm thinking about, my mind just went quickly, like, what have we got that maybe could be bettered? And I've been to a few shows at the town hall, and as a musician, I must say, I don't think it's great. Like the sound, and the structure is fine, but like,
The
for
acoustics.
example, like if we had funding or whatever it is, like to better a place like that, because the location is beautiful, the size is beautiful, like parking is good, it's accessible, but like that kind of thing, like if you can make it look good, sound good, I'm not giving shit to the place, shout out to the town hall and bringing things in.
It's a funky building. It's a classic building. It's
Yeah.
just it can't accommodate for the sound and a whole lot of things that it's unable to do. But it has accommodated, many groups
So
and things
many,
over the years.
I've seen
Far out.
so much cool and weird stuff in there. Like a weird circus performer, which was kind of like, he was good. And then when he did the knife thing, when he swallowed knives, it really freaked me out.
Wow.
Yeah. Donate blood in there. Shout out to Blood NZ.
So anyway, it's good that we talk about these things, because sometimes it's just getting the ideas and the people who could support that, right? Because Whitianga has cool buildings and cool areas that could be bettered, I would say. Anything else, Chloe? Oh, sorry, you were about to say?
No, that's all good.
Yeah?
I'm just thinking back to that, having a specific, the one larger venue. Just thinking where, bowling alley out the back the whole time. Bowling alley out
So
the
you're
back.
thinking ahead.
Thinking
Yep.
ahead. Papa, how was our live stream? All good? Our new system, it worked well? You happy?
Yep.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We haven't broken it. That's good.
I know, right? Yeah. We are slowly upgrading. So for the people who listen to our podcast, hopefully they will pick up on some improvements on the audio. And now we're working on improvements on the image and on the live stream. So that's why we're going through this journey of you learn by doing, right?
absolutely.
So yeah. And so thanks for everyone who waited. We started a little bit later than 7 p.m., but it's what it is, as I said, is an alternative media. We're bettering as we go, and definitely growing, which is good.
Which is really exciting. And congratulations to you guys, because next Monday is your 50th.
Yeah, show number 50.
So Well done. It takes a
you.
lot of work to get to there because you guys have just been ramping it every week. Fabulous. Yeah. So
It's cool because people care about us, you know, like that's when you realize that we are making legit connections. A lot of people come to us, are you guys feeling good? You guys are not, you know, like, because I think it's easy to burn yourself out if you're not with the right mindset. But I always like to say, you know, that of course it takes energy, obviously, and you got to manage that well, sleeping, working, and priorities. But it's actually motivating us, you know. It's a cool thing that we're doing, you know. So like we're not overwhelmed by it. It's like, oh, we're looking ahead and we can see where we're going. So it's been fun. It's been a great journey.
Well, you guys and you all are such an asset to the community with ALTBAYS. So
Bowling alley.
go you guys. And a bowling alley on the side.
Thanks, Kathy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, I think that's us, eh? What a cool chat.
Yeah.
Was it hard, Kathy?
I told you I was a bit scared, but it's okay. I've got my way through it. Thank you guys.
You
It's
nailed
been
it.
lovely.
I was going to say, I do have to point out, you were the one that said you'd have to kill us.
Yeah, that's
You said
right.
anything, so I mean, who's nervous?
It's okay. I haven't let anything out that I shouldn't, so we're good.
Cool.
That's right.
Cool.
You got your Ray-Ban and your Google glasses telling you what to say, right? You're just not telling us.
Something
you got
like that. I'm secretly, I'm really into Facebook and all sorts of other things. But no.
Yeah, secretly.
Cool. Chloe, thank you so much for co-hosting this amazing show and for coming in the last minutes, saving us. Thank you.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you for having me. To all our listeners, specifically our audio listeners, I hope you don't mind the ASMR. I've been chewing on gummies this whole time, and I'm not sure how much of that the mic picked up. So sorry about that. But thank you for having me, and thank you for being here, Kathy. It's been
Kathy.
great.
Oh, thank you so much,
Thank you
guys.
so much.
It's been such a pleasure.
So, allaboutwhitianga.co.nz, is that right?
Sure is, yes. So you can find us there and find out a whole lot of information about our fabulous town and the Mercury Bay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And for the people at home, remember, next Monday, coming Monday, show number 50. Very special show. Hopefully with all the co-hosts. That's what we're aiming to do. Have a good chat. Talk about this journey, what we've done so far. Remember some cool stories and tell you guys a little bit more about where we're going with this project. Make sure to be on our live chat, asking questions and making comments, remembering funny moments or funny things that Chloe said to the mayor, whatever you want to, what? So please join us on Monday. Thank you so much for being with us for all these shows. It's been a pleasure. It's just the start of our journey, so we really appreciate. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like the videos. If you don't like them, dislike them. It's all good. And we're very honest here, as I said at the start. And go on our social medias and tell your friends about us and go enjoy your Friday night. Thanks, Taylor. Thanks, Chloe. Thanks, Kathy.
Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
Leah.
Bye.
Bye.